Hey friends, how's it going? Ash here. Welcome back to Gents. Hopefully you're doing well. 2023 is quickly coming to an end. 2023. See you, buddy. You did good. But 2023 is it's coming to a close, coming to an end, which means it's time to go over and take stock of the releases, the designer fragrances that came out this year, and determine what were the 10 best, the creme de la creme. In my opinion, 2023 was actually a great year for fragrance releases. I mean, pretty much from top to bottom. Now, obviously you had some absolutely stunning fragrances that most all people agreed were great, but even some of the ones that weren't quite at that threshold were at least good. A number of the past years, I feel like, had a bunch of weak releases, but this year, even the ones that were on the weaker side were still, like I said, at least good, passable, not bad. But we're not here to talk about not bad. We are here to talk about what I feel like are the 10 best designer fragrances. So let's jump into that. All 10 of them are linked in the description below. Feel free to check them out down there. And here are codes. You can use these codes if you so desire. Fair warning, the Lucky Scent code, that one goes away at the end of December. And also a quick reminder that my new fragrances that I creatively directed, Edgewater and West Loop, are now available in 15 milliliter travel size. So if you want to check these out, you don't want to buy the whole bottle though, because you want to see if you like them first, you can pick these up at Michael Malloy's website, which is linked in the description below, for a lot less. So Edgewater, West Loop available here in these sizes and also in the 100 ml bottles, of course, the full presentation. Also available at every fragrance outlet and Perfumania store in the United States. So I mean, you can check those out just about anywhere. In the US anyway. Okay, now I do want to feature a few fragrances first that are not in my top 10. I'm gonna lump these all together and you'll see why. Let me just put them out on the table here real quick. Yeah. These 5 right here, all 5 of these I think are strong in different ways, but they do have some similarities and that's why they don't crack the top 10. Now, when you look at these, of course, you say, what similarities? Now, over here, you got Valentino Uomo, Born in Roma, Rock Stud Noir. We got YSL Myself, Dolce & Gabbana's Light Blue Summer Vibes. We've got L'Homme Ideal Platine Privé and 1 Million Golden Oud from Paco Rabanne. Now, like I said, some similarities, but no real similarities in terms of how these smell. The similarities are that these have similarities to other things that are quite strong. Golden Oud here, start with this one, has a similarity to Halfeti from Penhaligon's. It also has similarities to Chopard's Oud Malaki. You know, it's similar to those scents. It's close enough that if you're familiar with those, then when you smell this one, you'll be like, oh yeah, it's the long lost half brother of those. So while this smells great, it's pretty similar to those other fragrances. So it's kind of hard to call this like one of the best of the year when it's kind of like those. Same thing with this. This one I think smells amazing, really do, but it's quite close to L'Homme Ideal Cologne, which is a fragrance that I love dearly that was discontinued. While I'm very glad that this is out and I'm glad people can buy it and smell something similar to what L'Homme Ideal Cologne smelled like, I don't know that I'm gonna, pop this into the top 10 best releases of the year when it essentially smells like a re-released version of that, though we'll get into something more like that here in a little bit. Same thing with this, Summer Vibe. Yeah, it smells kind of like Eau Intense, Light Blue Eau Intense, or the original Light Blue. And so, again, quite similar to something that came out before. And we'll skip over to this one. Rock Stud Noir smells kind of like Ralph's Club from Ralph Lauren. And then YSL Myself, this one smells like, little bits and pieces of a whole bunch of things. And while I do think that YSL Myself is fantastic for pulling compliments, it absolutely crushes that. And it's very good for versatility. It's easy to wear. It's a great scent for a person that just wants something that's kind of a jack of all trades type of fragrance. It doesn't, to me, really get me fired up. So while with this one, I think it smells pleasant, smells nice, good usability, all that stuff. If you have a ton of fragrances, then when you smell this, you're probably just gonna be like, yeah, it's good. And that's kind of how I view it, but not in the top 10. I think that this one for me probably would be number like 12 or something. So if I expanded it to the top 15 designer releases of the year, it would make that. I do think it will outsell most all the fragrances that I have above it in the top 10 long term. I think that this is going to be one of the most successful releases of the year. I could be wrong there, but I think long term, over the next few years, this will be one of the biggest sellers of this whole list, if not the biggest, actually. But just in terms of what I personally really go for, it doesn't quite crack the top 10. So these 5 are kind of the first 5 out. Like I said, we just had a lot of good releases this year, so I wanted to talk about those at least for a little bit. Let's do the top 10 now. First off is from Lacoste. It is L1212 Blanc Eau Intense. So this one might be a bit of a surprise to some people because Lacoste, right? People don't think Lacoste when they think of the best designer fragrances out there. But I think that this is extremely well done. This is very fresh, it's clean, it has a little bit of that sporty aspect like you would expect from a Lacoste fragrance. Then it has a nice classiness to it, a good sophistication to it as well. A little green, woody, has a nice citrus opening, has turmeric in there off the top, which helps offset it a little bit from some of the other fragrances out on the market, gives it a little unique tinge. Good quality, great wearability, compliment puller as well. Just a really nice, well done fragrance and much better than I was frankly expecting. Number 9 is Paco Rabanne's 1 Million Royal. So while Golden Oud did not quite crack into the top 10, partially because of those similarities to other fragrances out there, this one does. And this is one that has grown on me throughout the year. The more I've smelled it, the more I've given it some wears, I've really come to enjoy it. It has tangerine, benzoin, lavender, and cedar as some of the notes in the scent. It has that sweetness that you would expect from 1 Million, but I find that it's really well done here. It has a great kind of warm, spicy tinge to it, almost like spice and like a faint waft of melted vanilla ice cream underneath, like vanilla bean. Doesn't really smell exactly like any other fragrance out there right now, but has enough familiarity that it fits in within this overarching kind of warm vanilla fragrance train that we've been riding lately. One of the better ones actually in that style. So 1 Million Royal, really good stuff and great performance as well. Number 8, Carolina Herrera's CH Passion for Men. This is an iris fragrance. I'm an iris hound. I'm about that. Like, I love iris. So if you don't, maybe, you know, it wouldn't work out as well for you. It's not just iris though. You've also got sandalwood in here. You've got olibanum. You have myrrh. While it's, you know, not full on lipsticky makeup-y, it has a little bit of that aspect to it. And at the same time, it doesn't go full on soapy either. It actually reminds me a little bit of how Prada has done some fragrances in the past that are both fresh with iris, but then have this sort of resinous, almost lightly balsamic and kind of smoky backing to it. Great quality, really, really nice. Not too creamy either, just very well done. The only drawback that I have for this one, which is not really a drawback on the fragrance, is Carolina Herrera fragrances that are, you know, this style, this kind of like limited edition vibe, they typically become very hard to find. Now, you can still find this right now. You can find it on Carolina Herrera's website. So, I mean, no problems as of when I'm shooting this, but I would guesstimate, could be wrong, of course, but I would guesstimate that come around same time next year, this one will probably be more difficult to find than most every other one that I talk about. Or probably, or actually, I would wager money that this would be. This will be the one out of the top 10 that's the hardest to find. Now that I've said that, it's gonna be easy, and like one of the other ones is gonna get discontinued or something. Just completely blow that out of the water. Number 7, Guerlain's Abbey Rouge Rouge Privé. Now, I would say for a bunch of people that are like hardcore fragrance guys, like fragrance collectors, aficionados, especially ones that like kind of a throwback masculine style of fragrance, that this is gonna be in their top 3, possibly their number 1. I will say the quality on this is fantastic, really nice, but it's not going to appeal to younger guys very much at all. This one has leather, vanilla, bergamot, ginger as some of the notes to the fragrance. It does have that Abbey Rouge DNA right in the forefront. As soon as you spray this on, you know what it is if you're familiar with the line of fragrances. A classic Guerlain style of fragrance. The leather is just top notch, extremely well done. The citrus doesn't come across like the more modern style of citrus where it's very bright and zingy and kind of overly sweet. Grown up, masculine, sophisticated, mature, and great quality. That's this one. Number 6 is Ralph's Club Elixir from Ralph Lauren. Another fragrance makes use of iris. This one also has lavender, olibanum, and leather, some of the other notes in the fragrance. And this one, I think is just extremely classy, just the right amount of sweetness once again. Clean, kind of fresh, not at all dark. Especially off the top. And that's something I've seen with a couple different fragrances. Ralph's Club Elixir, Armani Code Parfum, where if you have never smelled the fragrance and you go into it expecting it to be what would typically be, which is a fragrance that is darker, more mature, maybe smoother, richer, bolder than the flankers that have come before it, you'll be a little bit surprised when you spray these on, this and Code Parfum, and get a really nice, fresh, kind of sweet opening. Now, as it dries down, it does get a little bit heavier, but it's never a fragrance that is going to be confused with something that's like a powerhouse beast mode winter monster. I do think this one has been overlooked a little bit because if you look at, for example, Fragrantica, which is not at all the end-all be-all fragrances, but if you go look at this year's releases and just sort by popularity, this one is way down there. But I think it's actually one of the better ones this year. That one slots in right in at number 6. Number 5 is Giorgio Armani's Acqua di Gio Parfum. Now with this one, I'm gonna have to defend it a little bit because some of the fragrances that were like the first 5 out were part of the first 5 out because they smell really similar to something that has come before it. This obviously does too. So I am breaking my own freaking rules here. Acqua di Gio Parfum smells, what do we want to call it? Decently similar to Acqua di Gio Profumo. Yeah, Giorgio Armani. We gotta discontinue that Profumo. We gotta axe it, man. It just ain't making this money. We gotta come up with a new Parfum though. We gotta, cause we got the Eau de Toilette, we got the Eau de Parfum. We need a Parfum. I got it. We'll re-release Profumo, but we'll change it a little bit. It's not the exact same. They'll never catch on. So smart. So yeah, it's similar to Profumo. It is, but there are differences as well, and I've covered that in detail in a video on the channel. You could just search up like, you know, Acqua di Gio Profumo on my channel. It'll pull it up. But even though it has that similarity to Profumo, and it's essentially a tweaked version of that, I suppose, to better fit in with the current market versus when Profumo was released originally. It is, at the end of the day, Acqua di Gio. I am a big fan of Acqua di Gio. I do think it smells very, very nice, and it sneaks right into the top 5 for me. At the end of the day, it's just one of those things. Would I rather have this or Light Blue Summer Vibes? Rather have this. Would I rather have this? Rockstud Noir. Rather have this. And that's kind of how it went down. So those were the first 5 out, and this one actually pretty high up there. Number 4 is another elixir. It is Boss Bottled Elixir. Yeah, before this came out, before I smelled it, if you told me they were doing a Boss Bottled Elixir, probably would have told you it will be one of the worst of the elixir train that's been coming out, because up until recently, I didn't have a ton of faith in the Boss Bottled line. They churn out flankers. They're typically not that bad. It's just they're also typically not really memorable either. They just kind of are. They're okay. You can wear them. You'll smell not bad, but they don't have that wow factor. A lot of them, at least haven't. And then this came out, and this is good. It's got frankincense, patchouli, cedar, labdanum as some of the notes in the fragrance. It has great, great, great quality. Really masculine, spicy, woody, little aromatic, slightly dark, but not so much so that it becomes too dense, too heavy. Just a little faint waft of that incense that kind of tickles the tip of your nose, kind of a woodiness to it, like you're walking through a forest at dusk maybe. Then a tinge, just a little tinge of like green freshness almost around the edge. I love this stuff. Boss Bottled Elixir is very nice. And if the top 3 that were released this year had not just been so stinking good and worked so well for me, this would have been in the top 3 easily. The first 4 fragrances of this top 10 were all immediate. Like I knew exactly which ones were where. Boom, 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 boom. I sat those aside immediately. Everything from here on down took a long while, contrasting, comparing, going back and forth, trying to figure out where do I want to slot these. And even with these, I could kind of move these around depending on the day and not feel bad about it. But the top 4, I knew immediately what those were. Any other year, this would have been a top 3, like I said, easily. All right, top 3. These ones are not changing ever. You could have me make 100 iterations of this list. I would always write down boop, 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 1, 2, 3, and put these right in there. And I guess this would be 4. I just said that, but just to drive that point home. Born in Roma Intense, number 3. Amazing, amazing. The best Born in Roma for me, hands down. Easily in the air. That is a compliment. Monster, just unstoppable. Great performance, the perfect amount of sweetness. The fragrance is great. Vanilla, lavender, vetiver. I don't know how they top this. Yeah, this could end up being like the best Born in Roma fragrance. Like 5 years from now, this could still be the best one. I guess we'll see. But for me, number 3 this year. I will say that in the top 3, that this one I think is the one that has the most versatility. So year-round usage, daytime, nighttime, different situations you find yourself in, I think this is the most versatile of the top 3. Number 2, Invictus Victory Elixir. I almost feel bad putting this at number 2. In most years, this would have been number 1. It's got this great combination of facets from other big fragrances. I think it improves on Invictus Victory. It has this great effervescent, sparkling sweetness that just draws people in. It's so easy to wear. It's got this playful side to it, but then it's not overly youthful. So it has great versatility in the cooler months. Invictus Victory Elixir is top-notch stuff, and I have come full circle with these 2 lines right here. Born in Roma, Invictus have been 2 lines that I've not been real excited about, and this year, these 2 are just amazing. They converted me. Number 1, Lamal Elixir. Yeah, this is just insane. With some of those flankers, some of those releases that Jean Paul Gaultier has been coming out with over the past number of years, it is just like fire release after fire release. And this right here is at the top of the heap, at the top of the mountain. Honey, vanilla, tonka, tobacco, some of the notes in here. It is an evolution of Lamal Le Parfum taken to the next level. Not as powdery as that one, a little more depth to it, richness to it. The sweetness in here is perfection. It is ultra sexy. The only thing I could say about it is because of the type of scent it is. I mean, I wouldn't wear it in summer or spring, but who cares? Fall and winter time comes around, bust that out, wear that. This is number 1 for me. I think this is absolutely stunning. I think the bottle looks great. Everything about this is A+. Everything about it, A+. So that's the top 10 with the little bit of a caveat that there's a little bit of a divide right here. And this is what I feel like are the true outstanding ones from this year that I really, really go for. And that these are absolutely super strong releases. And then the first 5 out are also quite strong as well. But for me, don't measure up to these. So there we are. Let me know what you feel like are the best releases this year in terms of designers. The ones that really just bumped everything up. I feel like you could ask 100 people to make the top 10 designer releases of the year and you would get 100 different iterations of fragrances mixed around. Like I said though, a strong year, some great stuff came out, and I feel much stronger about what came out this year than last year when you look at the entirety of everything that came out. All right guys, thank you for hanging with me. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys later.